The goldfish in your fishbowl can turn into an actual monster the second you set it free. And I don't mean an adorable golden water beast, I mean feral goldfish, already the size of a small dog in the Great Lakes. I know that sounds unlikely, but right now, scientists in the US and Canada are working tirelessly to remove these giants from our waterways. From tagging and tracking golden menaces to building barriers, they're using every tool at their disposal to control their spread. So, how did your little childhood pet become such a huge problem? These are the goldfish monsters of North America. Hi, I'm Taylor Schulveis, and you're watching Animalogic. Today, we need to warn you that goldfish have their fish eyes fixed on taking over the world. They could just get out of those dang bowls. And trust me, they have. Like, a lot. Swiping a scene from Finding Nemo, goldfish that have broken free from captivity have aspirations of a much bigger life. And I mean big. Goldfish, also known by their scientific name of Carassius auratus, meaning something like golden carp, are a member of the carp family, native to Central and Eastern Asia. We know them best from our bowls, but when they get out in the wild, they go beast mode. When goldfish go feral, they go big. Without the limits of small bowls and tanks, a goldfish that would normally just be a few inches long can turn into a monster in the wild. One giant goldie was jokingly named Megalodon, a nod to the massive prehistoric shark. It was found in Lake Erie, one of the smaller Great Lakes in North America. This massive goldfish looked like it ate Super Mario's super mushroom and grew to the size of a super toy poodle. Then there's the Vass River in Western Australia, which houses goldfish as big as footballs that weigh over 2 kilos. Volunteers have been tasked with catching and heaving thousands of these big-backed goldfish out of the river. There's been a lot of exaggeration about the potential size of a goldfish whose growth is unrestricted by the 4 glass walls around it. But truthfully, 2 kilos and about 40 centimeters in length, about the size of a chihuahua, is about as big as they'll get in the wild. While they've taken over the Great Lakes, there aren't any whale-sized goldfish swimming around in Lake Superior. I promise. But don't just take it from me. We spoke to someone with fins-on experience, Nicole Turner, an aquatic biologist tackling the severe invasion of goldfish in the Hamilton Harbor in Lake Ontario. And she has seen these Goliaths firsthand.
My name's Nicole Turner, and I work for Fisheries and Oceans Canada as an aquatic science biologist. I think I've seen probably like the max size that has been recorded in Lake Ontario, which is about 40 centimeters, which is crazy to think about that's a goldfish that's in your bowl swimming around.
There are a couple reasons why goldfish get so big when they go feral. The first is the unrestricted access to food that they enjoy in the wild. They can gobble up food all day long, no longer stunted by the measly offering of a few flakes a day. When presented with the right cocktail of protein and fat, they're able to balloon to the size of a skunk. Have you ever seen one of those huge goldfish in a tank of other, more conventionally sized ones? Yeah. I hate to break it to ya, but that goldfish probably ate a few of its little buddies, allowing it to become so large and in charge. So I guess goldfish are high in the right proteins and fats. Okay, but how did we get here? How did a fish that started in the wild end up as the world's most popular captive cannibal? In the 9th century, red or orange carp, which were absolute mutants at the time, instead of being eaten, were brought to Buddhist ponds of mercy as a good deed, where they were tended to by monks. Releasing a special fish like a rarely colored carp was considered an even better deed. And what happens if you put a bunch of fancy fish with bright scales into a pond and let them breed at will? You get goldfish, which were once highly prized and still represent good luck and abundance today. Goldfish were then further domesticated in China around 1,000 years ago for ornamental purposes. These same mutant fish were selectively bred, and after thousands of years, we get the iconic goldfish we know today. The term goldfish actually encompasses a few different species in the Carassius genus, like the Prussian carp, the Jinbuna, and Crucian carp. Hybridization and selective breeding have made it difficult for scientists to pin down this genus. There are examples like the Oranda that looks like it could explode you with its mind, or the bubble eye with its fluid-filled eye sacs, or the celestial eye with its skyward-gazing gogglers. By the 1600s, goldfish had made their way west to Europe as ornamental fish. They were referenced in Webster's dictionary in 1817, showing that they were already well-established pets by that time in North America. Today, goldfish are among the most popular domesticated fish, making their homes in tens of millions of bowls and aquariums around the world. The reason they're such an easy choice as pets is that they're hardy. Big, I will grow under any conditions energy. They'll eat pretty much anything and they breed easily. These are also the same qualities that make them super dangerous in the wild, allowing them to quickly dominate fresh bodies of water. What makes a species a dream for one ecosystem makes them a nightmare for another. When domesticated animals escape captivity and end up thriving back in the wild, they are referred to as feral, and sometimes they do this in areas they're not native to. The end result is invasive feral populations that harm the local species. Populations of feral goldfish are found almost everywhere in the world, but especially in North America and Australia. But getting bigger isn't actually the only thing that changes about their appearance in the wild. Interestingly, within a couple generations, many feral goldfish will slowly start losing their iconic orange color. This happens sometimes with feral species when they're once again at the mercy of natural selection in the wild. The traits we bred them for, like bright colors, become dangerous because it makes them stick out and become vulnerable to predators.
Some of them will keep that orange color, and I don't know if that's just one that was released at, it was a pet and then it was released and it didn't get predated and it kind of grew larger in a new environment. But a lot of them will get like kind of this feral looking color where they have this brassy brown, kind of like a common carp color, which I think is like, those ones have grown up, like been reproduced.
These specially selected traits that once meant so much to us will slowly start to die out as those fun, flirty, flamboyant fish are bubbled up first. One of the places that you can see the changes in feral goldfish is at Cootes Paradise, part of the Royal Botanical Gardens in Hamilton, Ontario. We had the pleasure of visiting the Fishway there to speak with an expert on the invading goldfish, which are destroying the local ecosystem.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Bowman. I'm the aquatic ecologist at the Royal Botanical Gardens, and we are at the Fishway today. We're at the Cootes Paradise Fishway, and this is a carp barrier, our two-way barrier, fish barrier. So it's a barrier that was designed and built to exclude common carp and invasive species in the Great Lakes. It was built in 1996, and it also operates to allow native fish to still access their spawning ground and the marsh and the creek habitat. So we move the fish over the barrier, and at the same time we block the non-native invasive fish that we wanted to exclude.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, very cool. The Fishway was built to manage carp populations, but as the goldfish populations exploded, they also became a priority. There are lots of predators that feed on gaudy goldfish. The fact that they're so easily spotted in the water thanks to their coloration is probably a good thing. Not for them. For us. Because they are super invasive. Goldfish are preyed on by fish-eating birds like herons, egrets, and kingfishers, but also mammals like raccoons and mink, reptiles like snakes and turtles, as well as larger predatory fish like bass, catfish, and pike. But if, like so many human toddlers, predators love to snack on goldfish, why are they still such a problem in the wild? That's because goldfish breed like rabbits. Worse than rabbits, actually, like 30 times worse. A single female goldfish can produce 6,000 offspring in her lifetime. So all it takes is one male and one female to turn a regular pond into a goldfish crisis.
They broadcast their eggs, and they're sticky, so they just kind of broadcast them. They stick on the plants, on hard structures.
Right,
Like
right.
our fish structures
I
in
see.
Grindstone, we find eggs on them all the time.
Okay.
So they're both in there trying to get into these areas to
Yes.
spawn, and they're releasing eggs and sperm.
Yeah.
And it just happens.
Yeah. Are you able to identify goldfish and carp eggs just visually? Are you able to remove them when they are eggs, or?
Oh, no, they're like literally everywhere.
They're just, yeah, okay.
An average size carp will have 500,000 eggs.
In a year, or in a, woof. Okay, that's a
And
lot.
it just looks like applesauce. It's,
Okay.
they're so small.
A bunch of goop.
Yeah.
In the wild, goldfish prefer slow-moving or even stagnant fresh bodies of water like ponds, streams, and lakes, with lots of vegetation to grind in their gullets. You see, goldfish don't have teeth in their mouths, but they do possess slightly terrifying pharyngeal teeth. They'll use their mouths to suck food in, and then their throat teeth will get to work grinding it up. They don't have stomachs, but instead absorb nutrients as the food moves through their digestive tract. Their fast metabolisms, their lack of stomachs, and their constant eating also means that they're pretty much pooping on an endless loop. Everything I've just told you about goldfish is why they're such successful invaders. One of the reasons they've taken over fresh bodies of water in North America is that they're exceptionally cold resistant, easily surviving temperatures just above freezing by going into a sort of cold water-induced trance called torpor. They also don't give a suck about water that's anoxic, meaning they can survive short periods in water that completely lacks oxygen. We know that goldfish and their cousins, the crucian carp, can survive in the wild in frozen lakes for 3 to 5 months without oxygen. Researchers found that they have the ability to convert lactic acid, which dangerously builds up in a body that's deprived of oxygen, into ethanol, otherwise known as alcohol, which is then released into the water through their gills. Maybe this ability is why they were historically sold in bowls without water aerators, and probably also historically why they lived for less than a year in captivity, despite living well into their 20s, 30s, and sometimes even 40s in the wild. Just because they can survive doesn't mean they are thriving. If goldfish have no bones about eating their tank mates, as we've discovered, you can imagine how few scruples they have about their diet in the wild. When these non-discriminating omnivores become feral, they slurp up any fish and plants they can find. Being the least picky eater means you'll always have something to munch on. And also, becoming the size of a small dog really broadens the range of fish and invertebrates they can suction into the grinding death holes they call a throat. Goldfish eat snails and insects too, making them not just a prime competitor with native species, but also a prime predator. But that's not the only trouble they cause for endemic species. The way goldfish eat, by slurping up bottom sediment and spitting it back out, uproots aquatic vegetation. And, combined with their constant stream of poop, goldfish make very cloudy, murky water.
Yeah. So they have like it's termed like, I think it's suck, spit, like it's like a filtering thing. So they'll go and grab sediment from the bottom, suck it in, filter out the invertebrates in it, and then spit out all of the sediment. So it's basically resuspending all of this sediment into the water column. So that's like where you're getting the reduction in visibility. And then also, if there's vegetation around and they're doing that feeding process, they'll rip up the vegetation and pull it out. And so you'll get these cleared out areas where there's no more veg, and it's just really cloudy and turbid. So it's not great habitat for native fish. A lot of fish, like, it really does depend species to species what their preferences are, but a lot of fish need like that clearer water, because if you have a lot of resuspended sediments, you have lower oxygen in the water. You could have toxins that are like settled in the sediment come up into the water column that could impact them. You have decreased vegetation growing, so not only is it reduced because of the feeding, but like the light can't get in to actually help the veg grow through the water column, and so it impacts their habitat. A lot of smaller fishes, it would impact the cover that they can hide from predators. It would impact predators' ability to see prey as well. So yeah, it definitely impacts a lot of the food web for fish.
To make matters even worse, goldfish feeding behavior releases excess nutrients, which cause algal blooms, which lower the water quality and causes damage to animals and humans alike. Not only that, but goldfish also siphon up eggs of other species, seriously messing with their ability to reproduce. And to add insult to all that injury, these nasty little guys also carry parasites and bacterial and fungal diseases that can infect other species. The best way to prevent a goldfish crisis is to ensure that no goldfish escape into the wild. You'd think this would be simple enough, considering goldfish are securely contained behind glass, but you can't underestimate the tendency of humans to mess things up. For centuries and around the world, goldfish have been released into the wild on purpose. Some were flushed to get rid of unwanted pets. Some unwanted pets were instead released into nearby waters. Sometimes flooding causes goldfish ponds to overflow and introduce the fish to surrounding bodies of water. The United States Geological Survey suggests that the earliest recorded intentional releases of goldfish were as early as the late 1600s in North America. It's considered the first foreign fish species to be introduced to the continent. Today, there are feral fish populations in all 50 states, except Alaska, where they have been aggressively eradicated. Once a goldfish population has established itself, it's nearly impossible and extremely expensive to eradicate. That's because targeting just one species in a lake full of different fish is as hard as it sounds. There are a few methods of goldfish control, like draining and manually netting and removing fish. One of the manual ways to do it is through electrofishing. In this method, an electric current placed in the water temporarily stuns the fish, allowing them to be easily grabbed and removed. Draining a pond and manually removing fish is a huge undertaking, and it's not always the best option or even possible. And the nuclear option is a chemical called rotenone, but this is generally used only for isolated fish populations, since it wipes out all species of fish in a body of water. In the Hamilton Harbor, Nicole Turner is researching the fish to better understand and eventually better control the population. One of the ways she and her team are researching the fish is with a method once referred to as the Judas method, but now called the Traitor method. A two-fisher.
We used acoustic telemetry, so that's where you could track fish movement. So we basically catch goldfish. We actually caught them at the Fishway because it was just easy and they were there. You anesthetize them enough so that they're kind of sedated during the surgery. You give them a little incision and a little tag pops into their belly area. You give them a couple of sutures, give them some time to recover, and then you let them go back into the water. And we've got these receivers all around the harbor, and they're basically like listening stations. So when a goldfish with a tag would swim near it, it pings off and records, the date and time and the location of the fish. And so we tagged a bunch of goldfish, I think maybe 40, but not that many survive. But most of them, I think we had like 30 survive. So I looked at all the data and I was looking for areas where we could target removal. So where could we focus our efforts on with our sampling gear that would be the most effective and the most efficient?
That means that the team can follow the tagged fish, and once it reconnects with its friends, they can extract multiple fish at the same time. In 2025 alone, Nicole managed to remove over 600 fish from her area. That's amazing. And also super effective. The following year in 2026, the number went down to 50 caught fish. It's a huge win. But we can't get complacent because we might have an even bigger problem than we thought. What if goldfish don't need a mate to reproduce? If they can do it, it makes controlling the populations so much harder. So, of course, Nicole is also working on a new study to determine whether or not goldfish can reproduce asexually.
It kind of seems like they can reproduce through asexual means. So they spawn their eggs. And through any other fish's sperm will just activate that egg and it will become basically a clone, so that'll start the genetic process and it'll be a clone of its parent. We are unsure if there's strains of goldfish right now that are in the Great Lakes that have that ability. So we are just starting a pilot project to look at goldfish ploidy levels to determine if they can do that or not. So I'm very interested in finding out the results of that study because that would have crazy impacts on our ability to manage them.
And how can we determine if these fish can reproduce asexually?
It's a blood test, yeah. So you basically draw a little bit of blood from the fish, and then they run, it's a PCR test. You run the blood through cytoflotometer, I think it's called. I don't do that part. I get the blood. And then you weigh it basically. And so the weighting of it will tell you if it's got those extra, like the extra DNA elements that would allow it to do that type of reproduction. So
Nicole and her team's work is helping us control invasive fish already in the lake. But the very best method to control feral fish populations is with education and prevention. Heck, if you're local to Southern Ontario and would like to help out Jennifer at the Fishway, please reach out. We'll put a link in the description. You said the one with the strike was the bass?
Yeah, largemouth bass. And the bluegill is just tiny. Yeah.
I saw it flashing.
And then the other ones are carp.
Oh. Those are the invasive carp. Or
yeah. They're the non-native. Yeah, non-native. That's all we have for carp.
Sorry, which one is the carp?
This is one.
Oh.
And then there's two little ones there. Yeah.
Come look at what's happening in your community.
Watch the ecologists do their work.
Yeah.
And it does inspire a lot of young people. We get people all the time, their parents asking, so if someone wanted to volunteer or get involved with this, or they ask us what we did for our education.
Yeah.
So they know what direction.
What kind of path to follow. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. If you're interested, come on out, catch some fish. If no goldfish make it from the tank to the great outdoors, no goldfish populations can establish themselves. In North America, there's a continent-wide campaign called Don't Let It Loose, which aims to raise awareness about never letting your pets go in the wild. Releasing goldfish into the wild is considered unauthorized stalking and is also illegal in many places.
they can grow very large. They can outcompete native fish for resources and habitat. And so, instead of letting your fish go, maybe give it to a friend or give it to a neighbor. Or I don't know if pet stores have return programs, but yeah, I think, it seems very innocent, but once it gets out into the wild, it can have these detrimental effects on the environment. So don't let it loose.
We here at Animalogic aren't sure about specific pet store return policies either. But if you do find yourself no longer able to care for your pet goldfish, consider instead giving it away. Or, even better, don't buy a fish that can become invasive in our ecosystems.
And we need to keep our invasive, non-native fish in our tanks and not release them.
Yeah, don't release them.
If you could talk to goldfish, what would you ask them?
Where are you?
We're coming for you.
Where are you hiding and at what time of the year? I want to know where and when.
We're gonna get you. Right now, goldfish aren't officially listed as invasive species, but Nicole and her team are hoping to change that, to give them better tools to control this world conqueror. Of course, while we joke about world domination, we can't forget that it's not the fault of the goldfish that they ended up an invasive species around the globe. They may have gone from highly prized pets to invasive pest. We can only blame ourselves and our carp-ricious desires to own and then get rid of pets that can have a huge impact on the environment. We can do better than that. If you like learning about fish and want to learn cool facts like how fish sleep, check out the video here. So, what should we talk about next? Let me know in the comments below and be sure to subscribe for new videos every week. Bye-bye.